love having you here. This is great tonight. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us tonight as part of Y-kiki Divers Speaker Series. We are very excited for tonight's presentation. But before we get started, I just want to share a little bit of shop news. So while we have the opportunity, we've had quite a few. Oh gosh, that's yeah. Thank you.
I'm recording now.
Hold on.
Fix your hair, Richard.
We've got quite a few sales and opportunities going on right now. For example, if you buy any regulator set and a BCD, this is a Scuba Pro promotion. If you buy any regulator set, a Scuba Pro regulator set and Scuba Pro BCD, you get a Scuba Pro sport bag for about $100 less.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll do that for any. You don't have to buy Scuba Pro.
Oh, you don't. We don't have to buy Scuba Pro. We'll do that with for any brand. So if you buy any regulator set and any BCD, I've been corrected. You'll get a Scuba Pro sport bag, $105 for $175. And then we've got is there an opportunity to get the sport bag? Is that the regulator bag for free?
Just a regular bag with a regulator. Yeah.
Okay.
Any regulator.
Any regulator set gets a regulator bag for free.
From Scuba Pro.
From Scuba Pro. Okay, it's the Scuba Pro Sport Bag 9. And then if you buy select Scuba Pro regulator combos, you can get either a free Octo or a free Sport 125 liter roller bag, or in addition. Both.
One or the other.
One or the other. Okay, so the combos, the qualifying combos are the Mark 25 Evo A700, the Mark 25 Evo S620 Ti, the Mark 17 Evo 2 S620 Ti, and then of course the Mark 25 Evo S600, the Mark 25 Evo G260, or the Mark 19 Evo G260. And all of those regulator sets are top of the line, last you for hundreds and hundreds of dives, and would be great regulators both in your Caribbean or tropical diving, as well as say locally at Mermet, and especially like that Mark 19 would be perfect for those of us going on Antarctic and Arctic trips that we have planned. So great opportunity to basically get a free Octo or a free bag to go with your gear with a purchase. We also have, starting May 1st through June 30th, 20% off of all Tusa Sport, Tusa View, and Waterproof brands. Starting May 9th through June 2nd, we have 15% off Hewish brands, Atomic, Bear, Hollis, Oceanic, Stallsack, and Ziegel. And then at that same time frame, May 9th through the 2nd, we have the Oceanic Plus dive housing on sale for $349.95. May 15th, well, you've got the circled. Starts tomorrow?
Starts tomorrow.
Oh, starts tomorrow. I apologize. So we can talk about it. So Shark Skin is officially at 20% off all products. So we are well stocked in all things shark skin. We've got hoods and socks. We've got the zip up shirts, the shorts, the long pants. So stop in and give that a try. It's a great product. I also want to make mention a couple of things coming up here shortly on May 19th, which is this Monday. We have Matt Mulryan coming in from Sea Life. He is our Sea Life rep, and he's been my rep, for 20 years. So very experienced sales rep. He will be in person offering a presentation to any of our customers or teaching staff, kind of a wine and cheese gathering at 6:15 here at the store. So that's Monday evening.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. I think, and he's going to talk about their product line and be able to answer questions. He's very knowledgeable, very kind man.
And he's going to have some of the new lights, just a teaser.
Oh, he's going to have some of the new lights. Okay, good. I also want to make mention for travel here. Just real quick, I'm not going to mention all of our opportunities, but some of the ones that are looming. We've got our Lake Michigan Milwaukee Rec Trip, June 28th and 29th. Instructors Casey and Gary Voss are going to be leading that trip for us. If you are unsure or want to get some more information, they are going to be hosting a travel webinar for us on May 29th. It's going to be in the evening at 6 p.m. It'll be one of these virtual travel webinars talking all about the trip and what you can expect, pictures from the past, etc. You can ask all your questions. We've got 2 charters going, and we have space on both charters. In addition, we've got Curacao in September. I have to release space in about a month or so, and I still have a resort view room and a mail share available for that trip to Curacao. That one's being led by Brian and Dee Dee Gavin, and we're going to Lions Dive in Curacao. So those were the 2 that I wanted to highlight. We also have on our schedule October 3rd through the 6th for your consideration, the Bull Shoals Lake Dive. In the past, we've done the houseboats. This year, we're trying, what was the name of the Ozark something? Cozy Cottages.
Cozy
Hideaway. And it's going to be a resort. We took all the cabins in the resort, and it's going to be land-based. We're going to rent pontoons instead this year and go out and do various dive sites, and then everybody's going to have their own room in a cabin instead this year. So keep an eye out for that one. And then girls trip, September, what's that one? You didn't have that was Curacao. Yeah, you had that wrong. Okay. Let's see here. For 26, and I will have these details up shortly. I just added Dominica for June of 26. And then Guanaja, we rented the entire villa on Dunbar Rock. Jeff and Stacy Mormel are going to be leading a trip there July 25th through August 1st. I will have those details up shortly, so do keep an eye out for that. So all these are just opportunities to build community. We were talking about that earlier, and we're pretty excited about that. So let us know if you have any questions. But about tonight's presenter, I went to DEMA this past year, and I missed several seminars, several presentations. This one here is one of them that I missed, and I was very excited when Jose Ventura with Shearwater agreed to make the presentation for us and our community. So tonight he's going to be talking about empowering divers with the Shearwater product line and what the Shearwater, the history of it, and products that can make our dives better. Obviously, we're huge fans, and without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jose Ventura with Shearwater.
Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me right? Everything's okay, audio?
Yes.
Yeah? So, thank you, Valerie, for reaching out and making this possible. I love to talk about diving and even more about Shearwater products. So it's a great opportunity for me. First of all, I'm really sorry about my accent. I'm originally from Portugal, so I'm sorry if my English is not so good. So if something is missed, just let me know, and I'll be happy to repeat and try better, okay? First of all, or second of all, I'm so envious about all those trips. Now I'm depressed. I want to go on all of them. I mean, come on. Great destinations. I wish I was joining your community of divers and going on those trips with you guys for sure.
You'd be always welcome.
Thank you very much. So the idea tonight is to talk a little bit about Shearwater and how 20 years that we're celebrating this year of innovation has brought to the community the dive computers that we sell today. So we certainly didn't invent the dive computer. The dive computer was actually a product of development throughout time. and it culminated, let's put it that way, in great dive computers in the 90s. Uh, and the thing is, our founder, Bruce, wasn't really happy with the products that were available during the 90s. He thought they could be better. So what was the main motivation for Bruce was to perfect or to improve the human machine interface that was available. For those older divers there that started to dive in the 80s and even before, we remember those dive computers that they were quite simple and not always intuitive in the way they were presented and the way we use them. So that was the main motivation for Bruce to start thinking about what can I do better? How can I make the interaction between diver and computer much better? And that was his main motivation, and he did it for himself. So the first dive computer that he built was actually, I brought it to DEMA. I don't know if you guys that were at DEMA managed to see it at our booth.
Oh, no.
But it was this piece of metal here that you can see. And he made it just to dive with his Kiss rebreather and make a Kiss rebreather, which is a mechanical rebreather, into an electronic controlled with a solenoid rebreather. So this is something that weighs maybe 3 or 4 pounds. It's not very practical, but with this small innovation that he did, he managed to create an interface, so the firmware of the computer, that was so simple to use, so intuitive, that a couple of his friends decided to, I want one of this. Why don't I have this? So it looks quite, big, bulky, but it has a feeling of when you use it. You're kind of like, oh my God, this is so easy to use. This is so easy to understand. And that was not the standard on dive computers back then. So with this, he decided to build a proper dive computer. So those prototypes kind of gave him the initial energy to do a better dive computer and to design a commercial version of it. So the thing is, he was very, very good at firmware development and electronics, but not in other things like mechanical engineering and procurement and things like that. So he kind of teamed up. He selected a few good people that could help him, and they released the GF. Most of you have never saw this computer because it was very targeted to technical diving. So he made a computer that had a very simple interface, very easy to use, very easy to access menus. It's like you don't need to read the manual to start getting the feeling. It had both open circuit and closed circuit capabilities, even a Fisher connector, and it was trimix capable. It had gradient factors already into the conservatism factors there. Didn't lock out, so those from the 90s will remember the Aladdins and those computers that you had to keep them underwater when you violated something. So you just let the computer dive by itself. You go up, just surface interval, and then you go back to pick up the computer because they would lock out for any single thing that you did. So divers, especially technical divers, they would break the rules all the time because they were doing decompression diving. So this was a great computer to target it to those groups. It was also introduced in this computer infrared download of the dive information. So you could download the data and they had a little program there that it could analyze. So that was quite innovative at the time. So he pretty much perfected those dive computers, especially the ones geared to technical diving, into these GF. But it was kind of a bulky computer. It was big. It had sharp edges. The battery didn't last too much. To change the battery was a nightmare because it had high consumption. And to change the battery, you kind of had to access the electronics internally. So it was not so practical. So with this, he decides to start to improve the computers. And by improvement, he wanted to make it even more simpler, so even better interface, add some features, make it more powerful, and make it smaller. So from the GF, he came up with Institute. And maybe some people on your group might have seen this computer. It was not, a great success in sales because it was very expensive and very targeted to technical divers still, but it had some amazing features. So the first one that you'll notice is the color display that jumped out. It was amazing. We only replicate this quality of display on the Petrol 3 right now. It's so crisp. It has the perfect balance between consumption and quality of display. So larger display, a little smaller computer in general, but with a larger display. He started to do also cabled units for rebreathers, and he decided to get CE certification, which was quite important to reach different markets other than the Canadian and US markets that were, kind of what he was used to. So didn't sell a lot, but it started to show to the technical diving community that there were options for dive computers. After this, he decided to start to consolidate. What can I do to make these dive computers even better, but get ahead in terms of sales? How can I make this a product that will reach even more people? And he saw, and Lynn, his wife, there in the picture, so Bruce and Lynn thought that the company needs to have better foundations in order to sell more, in order to make better products. So first they established a sales and customer support, which is, to be honest, in my opinion, the best you get when you buy a Shearwater dive computer is the customer support. We are here for you guys no matter what. We try our best. We always seek the better solution for you guys. You can call us, you can send emails. We try our best for sure. And then and also some quality assurance and risk analysis. So he started to implement a series of business practices that would make Shearwater more robust as a company, to build better computers with more quality and better assistance in terms of sales and customer support. With this, he decided to expand on his knowledge. So he is and was a technical diver, a rebreather diver. So he thought, well, rebreathers are really, really nasty. During the 90s and early 2000s, rebreathers were pretty much, made in a garage. That was the level of quality that you would expect in rebreathers. Maybe one or two manufacturers would have better facilities, but it was not very good. So he decided to develop a rebreather control system, which is named DiveCan, for better rebreather products. He did not want to build a rebreather. He wanted to make electronics for rebreathers. So he developed this protocol which is pretty much a CAN communication protocol adapted to diving, and designed a safety case. So safety case is pretty much where you do an analysis of all the things that can fail, and then offer solutions as best as you can. So, and this was a big revolution in the company, because a lot of the rebreather manufacturers decided to use these electronics to start making better rebreathers and safer rebreathers. And this kind of made the Shearwater electronics the de facto electronics for all those main explorers, deep technical divers, instructors, and so on. With this, we know as instructor, I used to be an instructor. I was an instructor for more than 20 years, and we kind of mirror, we kind of mirrors to our students. So all those technical diving instructors using Shearwater electronics in their rebreathers on their explorations kind of became a model for whatever other technical divers were doing. And so a lot of people started to move towards the Shearwater products. It was a natural and kind of slow movement, but the company started to expand to a point that they needed to have new product lines, because all those open circuit technical divers wanted to use the same brands as those big explorers were using. And they created the Petrol and the Perdix lines. So these are two lines that still exist in the company. So we're right now at the Petrol 3 and on the Perdix 2. So the Petrol pretty much became the standard technical diving computer in the market. Everyone aimed to have one of this, but it was still a little bulky because it was big screen. Had a lot of features, but it was still big. So the Perdix, which I consider the perfect move for the company, because it made a great dive computer as the Petrol into a smaller package and cheaper price, really made all the difference. And I still believe that the Perdix and now the Peregrine, those are the two better computers that we have. You don't need anything for open circuit diving. You don't need anything more than a Perdix, even if you do deep trimix diving. And you don't need anything more than a Peregrine or a Peregrine TX if you do recreational diving or light technical diving. So nowadays, the Petrol line is pretty much active because of rebreathers, because cabled units need a larger chassis because of the cable glands and so on. So it's still active because of that. As soon as that's not a requirement, let's say we manage to put the rebreather cables and stuff on the Perdix, it will eventually die because it's big, right? Another product that was introduced just because Bruce was getting old and his sight was not so good anymore was the Nerd. So it started with the Nerd 1, and now we have, like, for many years now, the Nerd 2. So the idea is he couldn't see his computer as well as he used to. And he said, you know what? There have been some near eye HUD type computers in the past, but none of them were any good. It was hard to read, it was bulky, it didn't fit well. So he decided to develop one. And the secret to this dive computer is the lenses. So he hired an optometrist to help him out to find the perfect lenses that could have a very, very small display. So if you look at the display on this Nerd, I don't know if you have any at the shop to show people, but if you open and you see the display is so small. It's like the size of a nail, of a nail, very, very small display. But with the lenses, it just pops up. It's amazing. So it took him 1 year to find the perfect lenses to be able to have this quality of a computer. And that's something that it was still small, but it was still very visible for a diver to use. And for me, I dive rebreathers all the time, and I use this as my secondary monitor on my rebreathers. And once you start using this, it's really hard to go back to something else. I'll tell you that. It's really a lot of people think, well, it's gonna just be in the way of my view. It doesn't. It You just have to try it and fall in love with it. There is one problem with this nerd product. It's damn expensive. Oh my god. It was time to not serve only technical diving. You know, recreational divers also deserve great computers. So, about 7 years ago, the company started to build a recreational line. Not that the computers didn't do recreational; they were amazing, but they decided to start developing a line that could cater to recreational divers that wanted a very powerful computer, but they didn't want to spend $2,000. So the first computer that was developed was the Peregrine. Now we have the Peregrine TX. So the Peregrine has a couple of different models depending on colors and stuff, and now it has air integration. Then also the Tern, which is pretty much a Taric for recreational diver. And the Taric, although it's a watch style computer, really does everything that a Petrol does. It has trimix, it does closed circuit, it does everything. So it's a mix between deep technical diving and recreational stuff. So these lines meant the company needed to become better at selling and supporting them, because this is where things get busy. Suddenly, the company, just from introducing a recreational line, is tripling and quadrupling the amount of sales, and that's quite overwhelming if you're not prepared. Lately, the company is trying to evolve into different realms and trying to understand what's best for divers out there, and for different markets. So right now, you might see our products in combination with the Velo system. I don't know if you guys are familiarized with the Velo. I can talk a little bit later and explain a little bit what it is. And a little bit also into the military diving and public safety diving. So right now, our main developments are in these areas. So we are supplier of dive computers, specialized dive computers, to the pretty much all the major navies in the world, including the U.S. Navy. We also offer very specialized rebreather controllers for EOD divers, military applications, and so on. And also for commercial diving, like the Sonardyne systems that pretty much have a buoy that connects and controls divers that are working underwater for some tender at the surface and so on. So these are the type of different technologies and new forms of diving that we're looking into. And I can talk a little bit more about the Avelo partnership later. So our idea as a company is to enable divers to fulfill their desires. So a computer, it's a way to make your dive more enjoyable and safer if you use it correctly, of course. So we want the diver to do whatever they want. It doesn't matter if you want to go on a deep wreck out of the coast of Greece or just mine dive in Germany, or a cave dive in Florida, or just shooting some corals, or marine life, no matter where you are, or just cruise down and relax with your family on a dive vacation. We just want people to use the computer and be sure that we have their back. We have their best interest in terms of quality, in terms of customer support. And although we might take a long time to listen to requests, we'll try our best to make our products even better and more accessible to people. All right. Thank you, guys. That was just a little bit of the history regarding our products. It's a very swift and quick presentation because that's what I had the time to do at DEMA. So it was a PowerPoint that was ready, but I'm here to talk a little bit more on whatever computers or ideas or requests or whatever you or a Valo if someone wants. So I'm open for questions. Thank you, guys.
We definitely want to hear a little bit more about the Avelo.
So,
what?
the Avelo. So, Jose, why don't you, it's probably going to come better from you. Can you, I'm not, although I'm familiar with Avelo, can you describe what Avelo is in layman's terms and what makes it sort of the most innovative thing that's come into scuba in a long time?
Absolutely. Can I share again, Paul?
Yep, you're still a presenter, I think.
Do we have one up here?
No.
Avelo is a completely different way of diving. It's not a dive computer. It's a new system
All right.
for diving.
So the best way, since the all right, it's just better with images if you guys don't mind, okay?
Yep.
So what is a Velo? A Velo is a hydro tank system. So what is a hydro tank? It's a tank that takes both gas and water. So the tank has two openings. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Can you?
We can.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of. Okay. So there's our traditional scuba valve at the top there, and that's an opening. And there's another one at the bottom. So at the bottom is the water tank, or the water entry, sorry. And at the top, it's the gas entry. So it has an internal bladder that will take the gas, and then an external tank that will keep that bladder in place, but also that space can be filled up with water, as you see in the animation, right? So you can put water, the rigid tank is outside, and there's a flexible tank inside. So it's just a bladder that is flexible, right? So why would you do this? So in traditional scuba, we gear up, put our suits, put everything, and then we have to overcome that positive buoyancy. And what we do, we carry some weight, and then we go to the water, and we don't want to go down immediately, so we inflate our BCD, and we positively weighted, so with the BCD full at the surface, and then we take gas out of the BCD to start coming down. So the Avelo system decided to do it reverse. We don't carry weight. We don't even carry a BCD. There's no BCD in Avelo, guys. I know it's weird. I had to try it for myself. Believe me, I was like, nah, this is impossible. No. I had to go and do it. So you are completely geared up, and you're going to be quite positive at the surface, right? I'm not going down. It's impossible. I have my suit, I have my tank, I have whatever. So they decided to wait. Rather than carrying weight, I'll just activate the pump and put water inside. So what happens when I put 6 or 7 liters of water inside the tank?
Sink.
Sorry, 10 pounds, 12 pounds of water in the tank. So
The sink.
that will replace your weight, your ballast, right? So now you pump that water inside, and you're neutral at the surface, and you can start go diving. So there's one interesting thing. Once you start, so normal scuba, you go down, you take your BCD gas out, you start to go down, and then as soon as you go down, your suit compresses a little bit, all gas spaces compress, and what do you do? You have to constantly equalize your BCD to, stay neutral, right? As deeper as you go, more gas as you put inside. As you start to come up, that gas will expand, and you have to do the reverse thing. In a velo, where is gas expanding? There's no gas expanding. So once you're neutral, you're neutral. So you can be at 30 meters and 100 feet, whatever, and birds going up, and you're just going up with whatever thrust you're putting into your fins. There's no gas expansion. You're not going up like crazy. There's no gas expansion. Oh, there's the one in my lungs. Yeah, but you're exhaling, so no problem. Right? You got the idea?
Yes.
Yep.
Kind of like a submarine, right? A
So
submarine.
even as you're going down, you don't.
Yes, like a submarine.
Once you're neutral,
Exactly.
Once you're neutral, that's it.
Right. So what?
That's it. Well,
what the innovation is that it takes away all of those gross corrections. So it's kind of it just sort of happens based on the dynamics of the system being reversed by having water as your ballast instead of having weights. And you're letting air expand. There's no air expansion, so you take that out of the equation. So it's a little bit of a mind blow, but it's revolutionizing how we approach scuba. So
Is
no
this
BCD.
something new?
Yeah.
It is very new, relatively new. Although
2019 is when it was invented.
19 or so.
In
We can put
Yeah.
a man on the moon, but
21.
you can't figure this out.
about 21 when they started introducing to the public.
Yeah.
so but there are some details to this, okay, guys? So, and then of course you arrive at the surface, and you pretty much purge the valve, and you're positive again at the surface, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
So of course we consume gas that is inside the inner bladder, right? We consume a little bit of gas. So during the dive, you might want to pump a couple times, maybe like 30 seconds, just to compensate that gas that was consumed. So that's your, adjustment during a dive. So you'll probably activate the pump a couple times in a 1 hour dive, something like that. That's it. There's a purge valve, so if something, let's say the pump is not stopping, you just open the purge valve, and whatever is pumping in is going out immediately, okay? But that's where dive computers come in. What happens to the pressure inside this bladder once I pump water inside the tank?
Pressure goes up.
So let's say I have 200 bar here of gas, 3,000 psi of gas. What happens when I pump water around that thing? It's going to compress it even more.
Yep.
So although my SPG might be reading super high because I compressed
I have a very small volume. So what happens is the pressure that you get is misleading. You might think you have 300 bars, or sorry, 5,000 psi, and it's not really. It's the pressure is 5,000 psi, but that doesn't relate to your usual calculations of how long that will last because it's being compressed by the water.
Right.
So we have to adjust that on the dive computer. So rather than showing pressure, you can see pressure, but you're going to see a percentage of gas available in the tank that will be calculated according to how much extra pressure there is being put on the tank, on the internal bladder. Not sure I was super clear, but that's...
No, I mean, it's as clear as you can be. It's just a little bit of a mind blow for all of us on open circuit, right? So that's all.
It
Just
is.
trying to absorb it. Trying to absorb the information and think that through and yeah.
So there's no gas
Yeah.
tank.
So the
I mean-
Shearwater computers that have the Avelo on there, they're not. How do they know how much water you've added to the tank? They're not connected to the tank, right?
No, they are not connected to the tank. So they know when the tank is empty. So, sorry, not when there's no water being pumped,
Okay.
then you start. And they will know from pressure, there's an algorithm that will calculate
From the
how
pressure.
much extra pressure is being asserted into the bladder.
Okay.
They'll just calculate the extra pressure on the bladder, and they know how much it is coming up and down. It's an algorithm that the guys designed.
It's magic.
It's
You're
magic.
telling me it's magic. Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Where does the unicorn go?
Right.
Yeah. So it is, as Valerie was saying, it's mind blowing. And until you get the opportunity to try one and actually dive with it, you don't fully understand it. It took, I did my Velo course maybe 2 years ago about that. And I was like, I don't know. No, there's something else here. So the tank, the Velo tank, is so light. You can actually jog in it. You can just walk. Go and walk, and you can just carry. It's really. It's not like an aluminum 80 in your back. It's like an aluminum 40 in your back. Because it's a composite 300 bar tank. Very light.
I've got a question. Is he still there?
Yeah. Hey, Jose, we've got a question here at the store.
Go ahead.
Actually, two questions.
Go ahead.
First of all, what happens if, due to a crisis, the air escapes from the system and you've got a tank full of, or partially full of water on your back instead of air to bring you to the surface or breathe with?
Good question. You know, it's a thick. It's like a finger thick bladder. It's not this finger, but maybe pinky finger thick. It's a very thick bladder, and a small puncture wouldn't really do anything because you have more pressure inside the tank, the bladder, than outside, right? So the pressure, the internal pressure in the bladder is more than the water pressure that's being pumped. So it will start leaking into the main tank. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, what happens if it completely blows the bladder? Of course, then it's going to be quite heavy, but you can still activate the pump and pump the water out. Right? You won't have any gas.
How will it
Right?
break the bladder out if it doesn't have air to put into the bladder? Where's the air supply for that?
For what? Sorry?
That's a good
Where
Where's
would the
their
air
supply
supply be
coming from?
to go into the bladder if you just emptied the bladder?
So but if I empty the bladder,
Not
where is
bladder.
the gas going to if I empty the bladder? I either breathe it out
If you have a gas
or
leak,
there's a rupture, right?
Right.
I'm
So
saying if
the
you have a
rupture
gas
happens
leak-
inside the main tank, so the gas will still be here.
I'm saying in a catastrophic situation, you'll lose air from both.
Yeah, so
Then
you're going to be out of
can't-
air,
you can't
right?
cover
So you
this
have
with
to go
weights.
to an alternate source. But the main problem is having a tank full of water that is putting you down, right? Is that your question? You're afraid
Yeah,
it's gonna
I-
sink?
Is
I-
that
I
your
think
al-
there's
is that
some
your
confusion
alternate
that
source you're diving
It
by?
doesn't matter what's in the
Yeah.
bladder. The pump is going to work whether there's air in the bladder or not. The pump is electronic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And the pump will
Yeah.
pump the water out, whether there's air in the bladder or not.
but if the pump
So-
pumps the water out,
The chance
We're
of
hoping that
having
goes in. If
a
there's no air to
catastrophic
go in,
thing to
doesn't
this
matter.
bladder that
The
will
pump will
lose
still pump the
completely
water.
the gas, or well, the
Yeah,
gas
pumping
would
of that
actually
still.
be mixed with the water is very low because there's no really rupture points here. And what happens if you over pressurize the bladder? It just will conform to whatever the external tank is. So
Right.
And just
if
like
you over pressurize, it will be stuck inside the tank. So you can't really blow that bladder. You
But-
know what I mean? You can't really make it blow.
can't sink the
So
ship.
you can't make it a catastrophic unless you have, I don't know, a low pressure hose rupture, and then it's the same as any other normal open circuit system.
Fair enough. Okay, my other question is, I was on a dive trip once when somebody else, mind you, lost one of the gas computers over the side. And what would keep the dive people from incorporating the gas computers, the wrist mounted gas computers, and your regular dive computer all into one unit?
So-
what are you saying? Say it again. The
Put-
gas,
Put the gas thing on so you can read if you're at 28 or 26 or.
Oh,
Okay,
he's
your air
talking about the
integration computer.
analyzer. The analyzer.
Yeah.
Okay.
That has been,
Oh,
that
the
has been
analyzer.
done.
Uh huh.
That has been done.
I've requested an analyzer to be incorporated into our computers many times.
So
It's an
Okay.
easy thing to do.
yeah.
We have Bluetooth, we have radio frequency. You just need, a little gadget that you put in the tank, transmits whatever the sensor data to the computer. I don't have a good answer. It's just
Yeah, I was going to say.
not the priority of the company
Yeah, is there
because
anything?
it doesn't sell a lot.
Maybe. Right.
Is there anything on the horizon since there are people out there doing it now? Have you guys talked about it much?
There are
No,
people out
it's
there
not-
that lose
unfortunately, it's not
their
on the horizon.
computers over the side.
Okay.
Do they really?
Yeah. Hey,
There's
real
some
quick.
brands that do it. DiveSoft has an analyzer. Ratio Computer has an analyzer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
About
Yeah.
15 knots.
Brian Godding,
And you're
I
holding
know
it up
you
to
had
the
you
air
were
to pass the
unmuted
air over it.
at one point. Did you have a question, Brian Godding?
Where's Brian?
Yeah, I did have a question. I was trying to figure out when we were talking about the way that it works. If you breathe the air down in the tank, and does the bladder what keeps you from ending up with a vacuum where you can't pump out the water? In other words, if your pressure is low and you're trying to get to the surface and you pump out, you want to pump the water out, what keeps it from creating a vacuum outside of the bladder?
Exactly.
So, good question. So, when we pump water, it's not that the water is going at the high pressure that the tank as the gas. So the gas will be here at these tanks are made for 5,000 psi. So let's say you really breathe it down to 1 psi. That would be the scenario, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if this bladder is it doesn't matter if you have 1 psi and the bladder is vacuumed, it doesn't change anything. You still have no gas. Now, if you're saying, well, maybe at 500 psi, the water pressure will create that, but no, it's a much lower pressure of water here. It's not high pressure water. It's just the pump pressurizes the water just to get in and to make the bladder move enough, and then it stops. The water, it's not, totally compressing the inner bladder, because the inner bladder is at a much higher pressure. It will compress a little bit. It will make the gas inside denser, for sure. Of course, it makes the gas denser, but it doesn't have the capability of compressing. Let's say, but the pump, the water pump starts going crazy and doesn't stop. Then you just open the valve, and whatever it's pumping out.
Just having a hard time getting my head wrapped around it.
And so Brian, and everybody else that's listening, so the Avelo, obviously, if you go to their website, they've got a great description of how it works. I think that Jose's done an awesome job of describing it and giving you a sense of it. But there's interaction and stuff like that on their website. But do check it out, because I am very excited to announce I've been working with Avelo, and we will be bringing Avelo to Mermet Springs on July 19th.
Awesome.
Okay? Yep. So the week prior, they're going to be offering some opportunities to actually do the class that Jose was talking about, to become a Velo diver. And then they're going to have a booth set up. It's also Patty Women's Dive Day, so there'll be a lot going on at the quarry, lots of community. But you'll have an opportunity to see and touch and feel the Velo system. I'm not sure if they'll have the ability to do like Discover Scubas with the Avelo system. They're not really set up for that just yet. But we'll have an opportunity to actually look at it and see it, and then you could potentially sign up to become an Avelo diver. So.
And talk to somebody from Avelo.
And talk to the representatives from Avelo. So Glenn Faith with Mermet Springs is going to be hosting this event. But I've been working with Avelo and Glenn trying to bring it here to the Midwest. Again, it's very innovative. Shearwater is the technology behind it. Our friend Dan Orr, he's the former president of Diving Alert Network and has his own consulting company. He has created the safety guidelines and given it his stamp of approval. So there's lots of buzz in the community. We're not quite there. There we go. Dan Orr is talking about the Avelo system, so his video is there on the Avelo website. So it's pretty innovative. We're right on that cusp of we've got to create. It's a build it and they will come kind of a concept at this time, but it's so exciting. And I just know that you guys will love it. And so put on your calendars, mark your calendars for Saturday, July 19th at Mermet Springs. We'll have Women Dive Day and Avelo. It's going to be a great weekend. Great weekend. So, and of course, Shearwater is the crux of the whole thing, creating the technology that's driving the computers and that sort of thing. So a great marriage of innovation as far as I'm concerned, and we just are super excited about it. And I had no idea Jose was going to talk about Avelo, so that worked out nicely. Thank you, Jose.
Yeah, it's really interesting if you have the opportunity to do it, because it's a really different way to dive. I think it's perfect for warm water diving or resort diving. It's just so light. Oh, it's amazing.
Yes. So let's go ahead and shelve Avelo for right now. But does anybody online or here at the store have any questions for Jose about Shearwater? Of course, Cindy speaks for all of us. We love the product line because of its, for those of us that can't see anymore, right? We can see the screens. It's intuitive, and it just works. And then, quite frankly, as a dealer, I really appreciate the customer support. So the customer support is not only extended to dive, to customers, but it's also extended to us as dealers, and great communication. We're able to handle problems that come up. Like anything else, electronic problems do happen, but they really do handle it with poise and integrity, and do the right thing, and try to stand behind all of their products. And they do an amazing job of communicating. So so let's bring Doug on board. Hold on, I see Doug up there. He's already front and center. He's ready.
Yeah,
Doug,
feature request.
Let's hear your feature request.
Jose, so I did send you a chat that showed you the information, but very simply, I had sent a note to Ivan Lubjevka, I think it's his name, and it's a simple thing, but if you, let's say you do multiple dives, and you know that they really comprise one dive, you're up and down, maybe, you've done some checks or whatever it is, but it's one dive.
Yeah.
And when you get back to the hotel room or tent or whatever, you want to merge those 3 dives into one dive. That's all I'm asking for, is just a feature that you can select the 3 dives or 2 dives that should really be one, so that it merges into one.
Absolutely, Doug. You're not alone. We internally request that all the time. So the answer that you don't want to hear is like, oh, you can adjust your end dive delay, right? You can adjust. So there's a function on the computer that's called end dive delay on all of our dive computers, and it's the standard is 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes at the surface or very close to the surface, it will consider the dive done, and if you go down again, it will log a different dive, right? You can set that end dive delay up to 10 minutes, and that usually solves the problem in terms of logging multiple dives on one dive. It's not the perfect solution, of course. The amazing solution would be the software being able to do it. It's so easy.
Yeah.
The software, I'll be honest with you, the software sucks.
Yeah, actually, I take all my dives and I move them out of the Shearwater product, and I go to Divelog 6.0, where it has that merge feature. But I would prefer to be able to do it on my dive computer, so that when I upload those dives, they're not 3 dives, they're 1.
Yeah. So to give you, so the good news is we're thinking about the next iteration now, and we want to get rid of the old platform. Let's put it that way. So back in the day, the software was developed on top of a game engine platform, which is, it's stupid, but it was easy because whoever software engineer there knew how to use that. I'm talking about 15 years ago. Oh, I know this. I can just use, because I have knowledge about this gaming engineering, saying whatever game engine. I think it's Unreal. It's something like crazy. Like it's done for 3D. It's like trying to kill a mouse with a tomahawk. It's just stupid. So, and that created so many complications. But we're stuck with that system, right? So now they're looking into getting rid of that system and kind of starts from scratch. Let's put it that way, Doug. And you will have that. I just don't know if it's 6 months or 1 year or something like that.
Cool.
So,
And it would be backwards compatible to all your devices?
Well, that's always the goal, right?
That's always the goal, right? So Doug,
I didn't ask that question to them because I said I assume they will make it. Hopefully. Hopefully.
So Doug, when you were talking about that, I was laughing because Cindy and I were on a dive in the Solomons, and it was a cut in the reef, And so you'd swim through the channel, a little cut, and then you would come up on the other side up to the surface, and you'd come up and you could look around, and all of a sudden you were in the, the canopy of the forest, and then you would come back down. So then we continued the dive, and Cindy and I are going, and all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but towards the end of the dive, Cindy's pointing at her watch, and we're like, it's time to go. And I was like, well, I got 10 more minutes. I don't know what you're doing, and I was totally confused. But that's exactly what happened. When I came up, my dive computer reverted, and that started the dive at that point. And then, so my time was off by 10 minutes, and Cindy had hers delayed.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
that's
Cindy had hers delayed.
that's an issue. That's a safety issue.
Well, I was late and angry because I was like, what are you calling the dive for? Jeez, I got 10 more minutes, So it was pretty funny. I reluctantly left the reef and went out to the blue, but I realized later that was exactly what had happened. When I came up to the surface, it reset. So of course, just like Jose was describing, I started flipping through the manual. I'm like, how do I turn that off? And I set it for a longer length of time.
Yeah.
So it would.
By the way, the decompression information, so the t-shirt tracking will not be affected. Okay, guys. So the t-shirt tracking is something continuous. It's always on, even at the surface.
Yeah.
Even it's always computing tissue data. Or compartment, let's put it compartment because it's not real tissue, it's compartment. So the theoretical compartments, they're always being tracked. Even if the computer is at the surface, doesn't matter.
Jose, will you talk a little bit about the Swift technology versus the prior transmitters? What makes the Swift better?
So Swifts and the prior transmitters who were built from, they were not ours, we just bought them. Like everyone else buys them from Pelagic. So it's the same technology in terms of transmission, radio frequency, but the Swift is intelligent to scan frequencies around and switch the frequency so there's no clashes. So a Swift will look around, sense different Swifts or whatever transmitters are around, and it will adjust the frequency to avoid clashes and so on. The previous ones did not have that technology.
No, and we had to sell different colors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And people that weren't really savvy easily made mistakes.
Exactly, and that's why we have the yellow version.
Mm-hmm.
So the yellow version changed the frequency by, I think, 0.2 megahertz or something, and that would avoid clashes, but then people could have a couple of yellow, a couple of grays, and still have the same issue, and that's what was changed by the Swift introduction.
Excellent.
By the way, Swift is radio frequency, so it doesn't get as long as a range as like sonar technology that some manufacturers use. But sonar just creates a lot of noise for that. Not necessarily you hear it, but marine life hears it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Dave has a question for you, Jose.
Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, Jose, this is Dave. I have a question about the algorithms that are used in Shearwater computers and how they compare to other brands in the market in terms of liberal or conservative, and I'm also, I'm approaching senior citizenhood myself these days, over 68 now. And so I began to think about diving a more conservative profile than I did when I was younger. And I'm just trying to evaluate whether or not the Shearwater algorithm and modifications that may be able to be made to it would be a good fit for somebody like me.
That is a great question, Dave. Thank you. By the way, congratulations at 68. Come on, you look amazing.
And you're great photographers too, Jose.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
That's usually the case, Dave. I also tell my wife is my rock. Without her, I would be completely dead, for sure. So, yeah, that's a common concern. Myself, I just turned 50 last year, and I start getting more concerned about the quality of my decompression. Because let's put it this way: all dives are decompression dives,
Yes.
but a slow ascent to the surface is enough to complete your decompression. That's a non-decompression dive is a decompression dive where a simple slow ascent to the surface is enough to keep you safe, right? Or even a slow ascent with safety stop for 3 minutes, whatever, right? So that's it. So all dives are decompression dives, and we have to treat them as such. We in our computers, the standard algorithm is pretty much the same one that most dive computers use, right? So it's the Bowman ZHL 16C. So it's a C, it's an interaction for dive computers. So A and B interactions would be for dive tables. It's just it's an algorithm that is adjusted to dive computers because we tend to do more ups and downs rather than square profiles, right? So we do not design algorithms. We implement algorithms into our firmwares, right? So the Bullman algorithm was developed by Dr. Bullman in Switzerland, right? And that became kind of the standard during the 90s because it was safe enough rather than the more aggressive algorithms that even the US Navy used algorithms that were catered to more fit and younger divers, right? So after the implementation started, they with data and some research, they figured out that even the Bowman algorithm could have some adjustments to become more catered to different types of divers, and that's when they developed the gradient factors, so the GFs. So our computers, all of them have Bowman with gradient factors as an adjustment for whatever dive profile you have. So that's the standard. We also have the possibility for a VPN, which I personally do not recommend. Uh, it's based on the bubble models and stuff like that. It works for some people. It doesn't work for me. And we also have for uh, public safety diving, DCIM, which is a Canadian algorithm used for the Canadian Navy and for commercial diving. But let's focus on the Bowman algorithm. So the Bowman algorithm, which is come standard, is super safe, and if used within certain parameters, is quite conservative. So what are the parameters or what are the gradient factors that can make you or any other diver less at risk? So when you're doing non-decompression diving, you usually
That's what we do. We do not do decompression diving.
at
So
all.
you kind of you'll be fine if you just want to frame your answer in those terms.
Yeah. So we so when computers ship, they have three different levels of conservatism that you can simply change between them. One less conservative, one medium conservative, and one more aggressive. For older divers like myself and you, I would consider using the latest research by Peter Dulac, which is to set those gradient factors to 50-70. So 5070. So that's what Peter Dulac found as a great balance between conservatism and not keeping you to and not getting you to decompression really quick or to deplete your NDL really quick. So 50, 70 is my recommendation for older divers. So the GF has the low value and the high value. So if you put that 50 even lower, that means that you will start to have shallower barriers, let's put it that way, that can make your non-decompression limit at depth much shorter. So I would keep it at 50. The 70 is quite conservative because you can pretty much. So let's put it the original Bullman algorithm is 100/100. That's the pure algorithm, 100/100. So we're redesigning that line, that is your non-decompression line or your sealing also, into a different line. So we're tweaking the line with different parameters. So by saying 50, that's you're saying that I'm putting the line lower at the bottom part of the dive, and by 70 I'm making a more conservative exit of the dive. So we're just tweaking that line. So 50/70 to be precise, and according to latest research, it's what I recommend. You might find the 70 a little bit too conservative, maybe 80, but I would recommend the 70. That's what I use also. And I used to be way more aggressive back in the day.
It's good to know.
And I don't think there's the ability to change those gradient factors is what makes the Shearwater products attractive to the recreational market, correct?
Yes, because so the first thing a diver should do is consider their own situation. So there's scenarios for everyone. Maybe I'm not so fit. Maybe my cardiovascular is not so great anymore. Maybe I'm a little overweight. So there's a combination of things. Maybe I get colder more quick. There's so many combinations that it's hard to pinpoint a specific algorithm. So it's hard to ship a computer and say that this is it. This is good for everyone. So having the ability to change those gradient factors really makes a difference into adjusting the conservatism to the person, to the diver itself.
I think it would be fascinating to have a whole presentation on how an older diver, because the diving community, the folks that go diving with me, quite frankly, we're a little bit older to that point where we can afford the time and the money to go on some of these recreational diving opportunities. And of course, I'm also selling because we love some of these destinations, longer expeditions. So multiple days of multiple dives, and how that affects individuals in an older aging market. That would be a great presentation in its own right. So, boy, Jose, you've brought a Velo to the forefront, and some of these other concerns that my community, struggles with, trying to figure out what's the best algorithm, those kinds of things. So I want to thank you again for joining us tonight.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, hold on just a second.
Absolutely.
Paul's got another question.
I got one more question for you, Jose.
Go ahead. And I have one suggestion for you guys that don't forget to remind me of one suggestion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So this question, I saw a movie probably 2 years ago now that featured Shearwater quite a bit. It was a couple of divers were exploring a haunted house in a valley that had been flooded. And I just have to know if Shearwater had much say in how they used their devices, because what they did with them was completely ludicrous. They were controlling drones, underwater drones that weren't tethered to anything with their Shearwaters, and it was impressive looking. But the whole time I was watching it, I couldn't get past it. And my wife just said, "Just enjoy the movie."
No, I didn't watch a movie that I've been told of those ludicrous things. No, we did not have anything to
You
say.
didn't tell them it'll
You
work
know?
that way? I was just wondering.
No, we did not, no. I wish the computer could control
Right.
a lot of things. It's not the case. The radio frequency just goes about three or 4 feet, and that's it, unfortunately.
Well, I was just hoping that was on the horizon.
Yeah. So just one extra thing going on what Dave was asking. I have one suggestion. Maybe Dave, you can also incorporate into your computer. There's a feature in dive computer in Shearwater dive computers. It's called the Delta plus 5. I don't know if you're familiar with this specific feature. It's called Delta plus 5. Anyone uses it?
I've heard of it. I've not used
Never
it.
used it.
All right. So put it this way: the delta plus 5 is pretty much the delta of what in 5 minutes. So what's the difference in your current scenario at that specific depth? What happens in 5 minutes of being there? So let's say, I'm talking about non-decompression limits, right? So I am at 30 meters diving. I have whatever non-decompression limit, X, Y, Z, it's written there, and I have my delta plus 5. And I look, and I'm reaching my non-decompression limit, and I want to go up to do a multi-level dive. But you keep wondering, where is the good next depth? Have you wondered that? Should I go to 20 meters or should I go to 15 meters? Right? Has anyone had that question before?
Sure.
So, if you have the delta plus 5, as soon, let's say, you have 0 NDL, so it's time to start going up, and you know that the NDL will pick up. So the delta plus 5 will tell you how many minutes you're gaining or consuming on your NDL if you stop at that depth. So if you go up, the delta plus 5 will become, it's going to be negative, at some point will become 0. So that's the depth where you're neither on-gassing or off-gassing. So the delta plus 5 tells you if you're on-gassing or off-gassing. So if you're at depth, you come up, and once delta plus 5 becomes 0, it means you're neither on-gassing or off-gassing. And then you want to be a little higher, a little shallower than that, so you can start off-gassing, right? So you go positive on the delta plus 5. So delta plus 5 equals 4 minutes. Okay. So that means that I'm starting to off-gas. So that's probably a good location, so a good depth to continue my dive because I'm not on-gassing. So of course, take the on-gassing, off-gassing with a grain of salt because we're always on-gassing depending on the depth and because we have different tissues. So it's the controlling tissue of your dive is off-gassing. Let's put it that way, okay? So you'll find that depth, and then once the delta plus 5 becomes 0 again, maybe it's time to go a couple meters shallower and keep adjusting so you know what's the best next level. So
this is a feature, I
delta
take
plus
it.
5.
This is a feature that you would enable in the
Yeah,
computer.
so
Is that correct?
You just
So
have
it's
to
a
put it
user
in your
option.
screen.
Okay.
Just put it in your screen so you can have your
Yeah.
transmitter there, you can have max depth, so you can configure whatever configuration. If you can configure a field, put that field in, delta plus 5, and then dive and follow that delta plus 5 to see if it's negative, you're on-gassing at that depth, 0, neither on-gassing or off-gassing, or positive. So that's a great tool to find the best multi-level depth.
So I
Okay.
absolutely have seen that in in the menu options that you can choose to display, but I never understood it, Jose. So
Yeah.
is it the triangle icon?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the Delta.
Yep.
Delta 5, and there's also an at 5, but I suggest to use the Delta. So if you go to the website and you search, let's see, maybe Delta, oops, Delta plus 5, let's see if, maybe here. But there you go. So, see?
Yeah. There it is.
So
Yep.
the delta shows the difference of your TTS. So time to surface for now and in 5 minutes. So it's a delta between now and in 5 minutes. Right? So read this one. So search on the website and read this
That's
evolution
awesome.
of
That's a
dive planning.
feature I didn't even understand.
So-
So good.
So you can have a little, maybe this can come handy, Dave, for be more conservative and knowing where it's the ideal, because no one does square profiles, I guess. I mean, everyone's doing multi-level dives anyway. So this just gives you that extra information for a better decision on where to go. Of course, if you're on a wall, the entire wall is usually very beautiful, so it doesn't matter if you're at 10 meters or 15 meters, it doesn't matter, everything is beautiful. If you're on a rack, then you might want to, see certain things, and that might not be so useful. But for wall dives and whatnot, this is very useful.
Good tip.
Excellent.
Awesome.
I think Dave and Lisa are going to be doing some reading. I can already see them bookmarking stuff.
Tell me where to find that again, Jose, on the website. I haven't read it yet. I do have the website up.
Yeah, so it's right on the search box, Dave. Evolution of dive planning here. On the search box here.
Okay, Delta plus 5, is that what I type in?
Or you can search
No, just put
evolution.
evolution of dive planning.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
found that. I found that.
Because that's the article that talks a little bit about it.
Okay, yeah, it's about 6 pages or something, so yeah, I'll read through that.
We want a book report on that when you're finished with it, Dave.
He's already getting more gray.
So they're going to do the next presentation on Delta plus 5.
There you go.
All right, Jose. Once again, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, talking about Shearwater products, the evolution of Shearwater products, really, and then, of course, Avelo, and then some of the features that can help us be better and safer divers that I'm not even sure I understood until tonight. So I too will be reading the evolution of dive planning, Dave. If you have any questions, let's get together and we can work on it together to get that figured out. But if everybody here could please join me in thanking Jose for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm always available. You'll have my email, Valerie. If
I do.
there's something else, someone has a question, always shoot an email. You can always shoot an email to info@shearwater.com. No matter what questions you have, we'll try our best, okay?
Excellent.
For our
Excellent.
pleasure.
Thank you,
Wonderful
Jose.
as always. Great hospitality. All right.
We appreciate you, brother.
Yes.
Thanks for hosting me, guys.
Good
All
night,
right.
Jose. Thank
Thanks
you.
for all the questions.
Thank you.
See ya.